Have you, it's premature, probably made a decision on quarterback yet, or how will it work?
Yeah, we'll just, as we're at the bye week, so take some time, step back, and look at everything. So, a little premature. I mean, obviously, both those guys have done some good things. There's some other things we got to assess and see where we're at. Obviously, the start of next week, come back in, get a bonus day on Monday, and we'll go from there.
How's Taylor health-wise?
He's got to see. It's a hamstring. Again, the grading scales, if you want to get into the weeds of that, it was a low grade. So whatever that means, but everybody's body's different.
As you're going back through everything, I guess what are you looking for to essentially make the decision?
Well, a little bit too. I mean, where we're at, I thought it was a good reset for Dez. Just some things were going on. Obviously, he got evaluated in the Tennessee game, and he would have been able to come back. And obviously, Taylor went in there and operated pretty well. And like I said, he's not the first guy, and I think it could be very beneficial to him. I think what you saw yesterday, and I just even talking to different guys, and everybody's got different mentors, but a story that Joe Gibbs told me, what he had to do with Mark Rippon with some fumble issues, and he came back and he worked on it and came back and obviously played pretty well. So everyone's different, but I think what you saw with Dez, what was very encouraging, is that's tough for anybody. As a young player in his career, and he had success. It wasn't like he went out there and was over or anything like that, but we needed to get the turnovers under control and some other things going on. And but I always watch who wants the ball when the game's online, and he wanted the ball in his hands. And that's why we loved him coming out of Cincinnati. We've seen him at times, and I think sometimes you get in those moments, and that's the thing about pro football. It's going to test you in every which way, and it's always going to play out on the field. And I think what you saw is you get in those critical situations, got to have it. There you are in a game-winning drive, and you package some things even short yardage. He wanted the ball in his hands. He got converted the first one, second one, and he liked the look. I ended up, running into somebody, but he could have easily handed that ball off. And the same thing on the third down, he pulled it and ran it in. I would like to think Tyler would have gotten the first down. Dez had seen something, and then trying to play to his strengths, and we've seen that play. You guys have seen that play before, and it's essentially the play he had in Tampa, a little bit different. Had the ball in his left hand, ironically on the same part of the field, tucked it in, finished it, made a hell of a play. But that told me a lot, that he wanted the ball in his hands.
The second week in a row, he couldn't get the quarterback down in a play that might have saved the game. On the whole, tackling, I mean, who bears the responsibility for it? I mean, how much can you coach it all you want? In the game, things are just different. So where does that reside?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously something we've got to continue to work and fix, but that's life in the NFL when you get in these type of games, and it comes down to a few plays, and obviously we didn't make enough of them yesterday, and then, ironically the last 2 weeks, same thing. However it's played out, we go down, take the lead, and just like we did in Green Bay, and we got to get back to that, or on the inverse, when we've had the ball late offensively to go win it, which we've done, and we didn't do that against Tennessee, right? And the same thing. So that's been the issue, certainly the last 3 games. So it's been a different guy, been different schemes, and we got to keep working on it. And we played last 2 weeks for sure, 2 guys that can really extend the plays, and the way he rolled out of it. Yesterday, AK had an angle. He kind of played back into Richie and Bud, and then he actually lost 21 yards and then came back around and got the first. So we've got to do something, and we continue to work. What you're setting up, why we wanted him to step up in the pocket like we did with Lamon down forward. Lamon comes off and sacks him, but he made the play and we didn't.
Arthur, as you self-evaluate during this period, is there anything, early conclusions you've come to, whether it's way quarterbacks for handle, play calling, any way you kind of approach the job?
Sure. I mean, I think too, Jeff, I think that, as it should, there's a lot of ways you can look at it, right? I could sit here and spin it to you that, focus on the positives. Well, there has been some positives. There's also some negatives that, reason we haven't won the last 3 or really the last 2, right? A play here or there. And so say you do win those last 2 games, are there other issues that could cost you later on if we don't fix them? Absolutely. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I think ultimately, again, what gets lost sometimes too, as it should, because the offense and certainly the quarterback spot garners a lot of attention, but then it also goes back to, one, you're looking offensively, and then two, you look at yourself as a head coach. There are things I can do better to manage the game better. Because that's the other side that gets lost in it sometimes when you get when the game's played out, and we like our process of how you want to manage that, and then I think that you can take a step back and say, all right, there are other things you can do logistically to help, manage it, and ultimately I need to be a better head coach too, right? So it all goes into it, and so that'll be a good time. Look at everything and things that we switch year to year, things that they've done before that I think may help us, so that we'll look at it all.
When you say maybe you need to be a better head coach, anything specific?
Well, it's just like this. I mean, I guess you could use that word and go 100 different ways. It's not me trying to be a martyr. It's just, right, if you're not getting the results you want, each year in each game there may present different obstacles. Some of the stuff about when to be aggressive on teams, when not to be, about setting things up, about, going for it. And so I think you just take a look at everything, see what your process is, and where do you think needs more help, what doesn't. So that's, I think we've got a very collaborative staff. I think the easy thing to get caught up into, I think sometimes every building's different. I'm sure there's guys in this league, that try to do it all by themselves. We're very collaborative in how you set things up, so it's not like you're just pulling plays out of your head and it's a one-man show. So there's some things I think that maybe if it logistically gives us better, or maybe it helps the team in terms of how we want to manage certain situations. That's what I mean by going into it.
When you, other than the situation in the NFC South, what is it that tells you this is a salvageable season, or you can still make something of it?
Well, I think a lot of things. Because of, again, how close you are in these games. They're all coming down to the wire. And so if all of a sudden it was hopeless or morale was low, yeah, that's a completely different animal. That's when you see that, when you're like, all right, yeah, there's no hope. That's not the case here. As frustrated as you feel, and you got to look at it. The results are what they are, but there's true evidence that we can right this thing. And even if you were 3 games back, the last 7 games matter, and history will tell you that.
You said throughout the season that you are what your record says you
Sure.
is. If you want to make the playoffs, you got to be a different team coming out of the bye than what you've been. In your experience as a coach, have you seen a team really truly change who they are over during a bye week? How much can, I guess, be?
Yeah, I mean, and some of it too is like, all right, what's been causing some of your issues that are close? You're talking about a play here or there. If you want to break it down to a chance to make a tackle and end it, sure. I mean, that's one play there. It's a half yard here. It's maybe you don't win the matchup you're trying to get to on a critical third down. That can cost you points, or vice versa. They win the matchup, because that's what it came down to. So I think if you're sitting there trying to sell you a dream and you're losing by 21 or something like that, then you kind of roll your eyes, as frustrated as you feel. So yeah, there's little tweaks. I mean, it happens week to week, right? I mean, that was the whole thing. Clearly, last week was to get the red zone better. Some things we wanted to do. So you end up going 75%, but obviously that was more of a positive, and how we wanted to attack them, and the game plan was different. We thought we had an advantage running the ball. The first half was it was fast as hell. I mean, we had 3 possessions. I'm not counting the kneel down with 10 seconds, but we didn't score on the first one. The last 2 we did. So you only had 3 possessions. Stalled out in the third quarter. Again, that's the give and take. Adjusted, started trying to work the ball outside, and gave us a chance with the go-ahead. So there's just a lot that goes into it. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's natural evolutions, and a lot of it is just getting over this hump. It's an enormous game coming in. And you're right about the NFC South, whatever it is, but we'll see what it looks like when the season ends.
Arthur, 3-game losing streaks tend to bring a lot of eyeballs.
Sure.
A lot of different things. Are you, as a head coach, starting to feel pressure?
like, here's the best way to answer that. No, in terms of like worrying about everything, outside of your control, right? I mean, that, and I'll say this, like, in professional sports, like, don't go and get into professional sports if you're worried about that. So, I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, that's kind of your life philosophy. That's why I think this game is so is awesome. And it's kind of the old Latin phrase, amor fati, you know what I mean? Like, love of your fate. Because I think if you look like a life like that, that's what you step into these things. And I took 4 years of Latin, so if I butchered that, there's some teachers that are going to be pretty mad at me from 20-something years ago. Sorry. But that's really the gist of it. And it's kind of how you approach life, and that's what you love this game. And I love the opportunity that I get to do this, and I get to work with the guys we got. And if you lose that perspective, shame on you. And you embrace it. The good, the bad, the pressure. That's what you want. It's what you sign up for. So good news is, not dead. And, we have a chance to, as you said, salvage the season or do something about it. And whatever the odds are, we know we can use this time, get away, try to find solutions, and come back in here and go do everything to beat New Orleans.
Kind of follows that, but yeah, I mean, you got fans screaming for your job right now, obviously. Does that impact you? Do you understand it in any way? What are your thoughts on it?
It goes back to something about pro football. Like, don't sign up for it. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you win 10 Super Bowls or you don't win anything. I mean, that's what it is. So if you don't like that, don't sign up for it. That's, players, everybody. I mean, if you don't want the pressure, there's other professions you can go do. I mean, that's just what it is, Jeff. You know what I mean? Like, we know what we're hired to do, and you embrace it, and you try to do everything you can to win. So you do right by the job you're hired to do.
I feel because of the nature of football, it's so reactionary. How do you, and like it's easy to kind of fall into the highs, the lows, the lows.
Mm-hmm.
How do you avoid falling into the lows, especially now when you have kind of a losing streak and an
Sure.
extra week to sit on it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the reality. It's kind of the world you live in, and right, and there's more communication that happens through all kind of platforms, or more. Find whatever you want. If you want to search for it, there's a million podcasts, there's a million shows, there's a million, short streaming videos, whatever your platform is, right? YouTube, TikTok, Instagram feeds. I'm sure I'm missing a couple, probably out of date here, but whatever it is, there's a million different ways to communicate now. So things get covered that way. But that's the history of time, right? It's just different platforms. And if you don't have the discipline, regardless, because even when you win, if you don't have the discipline to realize that, hey, I got to be objective because this is something that we make the tackle. Okay, there's a few other issues that we don't fix that's going to hurt us in a critical game in the future. So it's a discipline, and understand what you signed up for, and do the best you can to ignore it both ways.
I think you mentioned positives. What are things that you feel like this is something we can count on or know going on?
Well, I mean, I guess this, like, you can look at things that there's guys that across this team that want the ball in their hands in critical moments, because that's what this game's gonna come down to. Whether it's a regular season game or hopefully get in the postseason, those are things our guys don't shy away from. There's, as I said, I mean, what you look at is the character. When you hit adversity is when you're gonna find out who you are, and really what your culture is. And that's why I'm very confident in our guys, because that's what's going to show you. I can talk about it if you're on a 3-game winning streak and everybody's feeling good. That's easy to do. It's when back's against the wall or you lose a couple games like we did close, that's what you find out. And I believe in our guys and what we're doing.
You've used the word reset with Dez a couple of times. What's he resetting from, do you think?
Well, there's a lot that goes into it. And so, there's things that I think he's done really well as a young player. And then I think he's got sometimes you need a fresh perspective. So, again, that's what I think helped him, and I think he saw when he got in there. I saw his confidence, and I saw the guy that the reason we love him and wanted him here coming out, getting wants the ball in his hands, and in critical moments, because he has done a lot of good. But the reset to refocus and work on the things that they thought that could help him, and he's done that.
As you make this decision at quarterback, what would be the case for Taylor? I know it's only been a small sample size.
Yeah,
but
just
what do you
go take
like?
a step back and look at it and make sure we're doing best for the team.
Special teams has bit you now a couple times on punt coverage. It pretty much amounts to a turnover both in Washington and this one. Is that something where you will look to change what you do tactically in terms of directional punting or personnel, or how do you fix that, I guess?
Yeah,
Or is it-
same thing. You defensively or offensively, what's been our issues, and you look at it, personnel and what you're trying to set up, and the direction of stuff and directional kicking, and whether you execute that or don't. And then obviously yesterday you get a chance to get the guy down, and two guys right there, and we miss it, and then the rest of the angles, the convoy coming behind them. Now your angles are out of whack, and we don't get them down until at the 21-yard line. So yeah, you look at it all.
When you last talked to the team, I'm not sure if it's actually happened yet or not, and the message and what were the players, how were they responding? I know you say you believe in them. Do you get the sense that belief is reciprocal, and they believe in the staff and everybody and what you guys are doing as well?
Yeah. Yes. The short answer. I mean, like I understand the questions, and it goes with the territory. It's right, Jeff. You've been in this profession how many years?
He's old, 2 or 3.
2 or 3. Natural cycle of things. So these are natural questions when you're in these kind of situations. Yeah, I mean, that's, you guys are here, you see them, see the actions. We'll come in tomorrow, meet some more, and like I said, we'll look forward to getting these guys out of here for a couple of days. I think it'd be beneficial for them to come back in here, and everybody have a reset and focus on beating the Saints.
You've probably been in locker rooms or media rooms before when you knew players were tuning out the coaches, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you got, like I said, what you find out about people is adversity, right, Jeff? I mean, you guys talk to them. We got great guys in that locker room, think for themselves, and they got the right actions. Yeah, I mean, you can certainly see it all across every sport there is.
Anything else? How did you evaluate the run blocking, pass blocking?
Which game and which situation?
I guess generally we've seen it, broadly as you can. I mean, it seems like well, let's start with Sunday. It seemed like the run game was working well. Pass game wasn't.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, it's what you break it down like this. So we had intent where we thought we had an advantage inside, and so, that's what we took advantage of and led to 2 scoring drives out of the 3 in the first half. The first half, first drive stalled out on the 3rd down, miscommunication between 2 guys, and so we had to punt. We get the ball back and, marched down there and got 2 touchdowns out of it. But that's just part of the game plan. And then you get in the 3rd quarter, we got off track, we got a holding call, we got sacked. They made some adjustments that, some of it wasn't revolutionary, but, we can execute better, and that's what you do. You come back and say, hey, look, we got to go. Here's what they're trying to do. We got to go here, and that's what good staffs do. And I would argue we've adjusted pretty well in the second half, a lot of games. So we kind of changed our tactics and gave us a chance to win. So, and how they happen on the sacks, it wasn't like our pocket was getting caved in. You have a miscommunication. They were showing different looks. Guy popped out. On one of them, we didn't squeeze. One of them was guy gets tripped on a play action. The week before, right, Minnesota had the #1 leader in sacks in the NFL, and we changed a couple of schemes up about what they're doing. I thought they passed by pretty well. So that's kind of the week in and week out, and we got to continue to make sure we get better.
Anything else?
Thank you.